Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the Hospitable Hosts podcast. Today I'm excited to have joining me Jenn Boyles. Jenn is a seasoned expert with over 20 years of experience in design and marketing and more than a decade as a vacation rental owner herself. She is dedicated to helping short-term and vacation rental property managers, owners and hosts build and grow their businesses independently without over-relying on online travel agents. Jenn's wealth of knowledge and hands-on experience make her the perfect guide for unlocking the full potential of direct bookings. Hey Jenn, welcome. So glad you could join us today.
Miles, it's so good to see you.
So for our listeners, can you let us know where you're calling in from today, Jenn?
I am in Vancouver, Canada.
Lovely stuff. So Jenn's on the West Coast. I'm actually in Toronto, so a little bit further out east. But we're just talking about how it is at recording time. It's Canada Day this week, and so we've been celebrating that with some beers out in the sunshine, haven't we, Jenn?
Yeah, for sure. It's a hot summer in Vancouver, so all is good.
Nice, good. I love it. So we won't hang around, Jenn. We like to make these things snappy, so we'll get straight into the questions.
Sure.
So starting off, love to kind of get a bit of background from you and, your personal experiences in the short-term rental space and how you got into it in the first place and how you got into direct booking specifically, I guess.
Yeah, well, hospitality was my first job. So my dad is a retired hotel manager, and my first job was in one of his hotels. And I thought, well, this is hard work. I'm going to go do something else. So I went off and worked, did schooling and worked in graphic design and publishing and marketing and all of that. And it wasn't until years later I was living in, oh goodness, I can't even remember what country I was actually living in, but it must have been England. My ex-husband and I had an apartment in the French Alps and decided to put it on Airbnb. So this is back in the heyday of Airbnb. Put it on one morning, and in the afternoon, my phone was pinging away with bookings. Wow. I thought, well, nice. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. And it was a couple of properties later that the bubble kind of burst. We had bought a big chalet in a different location, in a location that was saturated with guest houses and vacation rentals and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
And we weren't getting the bookings. And it was a real learning experience for us, a real humbling experience for us, because we went in thinking we were know-it-alls and we knew everything there was, about hosting. And the thing was, what we only knew really was how to use the Airbnb platform. We weren't running a business. We were just having a good time with a nice little hobby. So that was what was the turning point for me, is that a previous guest from the previous owner rang up and wanted to come back. And they didn't want to book through Airbnb. They wanted to book with me, directly. And I was an Airbnb superhost. So I was, what are you talking about? We can't do this off the platform. We'll all get in trouble. The world will end. Yeah, the world will end and there'll be chaos. And anyways, when I got my mind around it, I really was the way forward for us.
Yeah.
So, and it was how I built the brand and the website. And the next property we launched with 80% direct bookings. As I had learned so much on the property before, and I was able to put it into the next one. And then the pandemic hit, like it did, and it turned all of our lives upside down. And Airbnb canceled all those bookings and shut everybody down, and the governments were closing the world, and it was a horrible time. But it was in that time that I realized that not everyone was on the same journey as I, and that they hadn't had that epiphany with direct bookings, and they needed help. And so that's kind of the long story short of how I started helping others with their direct bookings.
Nice. Amazing. And maybe, we were kind of going to get to this later, but maybe you can just kind of give us a bit more background on, how exactly you're helping people with direct bookings and the service that you're offering.
Yeah. I started designing websites. Okay, I
Hmm.
started designing websites for people. And what I quickly found out was that people were getting these websites and then wondering why the bookings weren't coming in.
Yeah.
And it was that if you build it, they will come mentality, which, as we know, is not in real life. It's fine for Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, but it's not for real life. So I leaned into the marketing side of things.
Hmm.
And so I help people one to one and also in my group program about organic, AKA free marketing techniques to build your own brand instead of relying so heavily on the OTAs like Airbnb.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. And then when you're talking about success of direct versus the likes of Airbnb, and you sort of alluded to some of these facts, but what do you see as being the benefit of direct versus the online travel agencies?
Well, the biggest thing is that they're my guest. A direct
Mm.
booking is my guest. When you are booking, or when you have a guest that is booked through like an OTA, like Airbnb, it's their guest. It's
Yeah.
not your guest. They have whoever has that guest's data and who's taken that booking is the host, if you will. It's their
Hmm.
guest. So the biggest benefit to me as an owner and property manager is that they're my guest.
Yeah.
And I can have direct communication with them without the fear of Big Brother looking over my shoulder. I can decide my terms and conditions and my cancellation policies and how I
Hmm.
want my guests' booking journey to be like. I can also decide how much I want to charge. And my guests can benefit from all of those things as well as having that direct communication with me and usually paying less than having to go through the OTAs because that commission isn't put on top.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally makes sense. Um, and then you kind of talked about it not being the field of dreams, and guests won't just show up there. What are some of the starting blocks that you kind of start out with hosts for? They've got the new website. How do they get people to it? What are some of those first channels that you normally kind of keep your tires on and get people started with?
Well, even before the website, if
Hmm.
possible, we talk about who their ideal guest is. And I
Nice.
know a lot of people like to skip this part because they're like, I just want bookings from everyone. And that is a problem because you don't actually want bookings from everyone. You want bookings from guests who are a perfect fit for your
Yeah.
place and your location and that will treat your properties with respect. So, in order for this to happen, it's knowing who your ideal guest is and really looking at that person as the perfect fit and niche. In marketing, you like to say niching down
Mm.
into who is the right person so that you're calling them in, so that your copy, your images, your social media, your website,
Yeah.
everything is geared towards them.
Nice. I like it. And then maybe you can provide some examples of how we can, target that niche in that way. And I know we don't have a specific example. Maybe you can think of one, but how can we do that from the website and the social media and how we're talking to them? What are some of the ways that we can actually really focus on that niche that we've picked out as our ideal customer?
Well, I was just speaking to somebody earlier today
Mm.
and we were talking about dogs and they have a reactive dog. And so dogs are a great niche. What about a reactive dog? That's a real micro niche. You're really going into it. But what if you have a large home, and you want, instead of, parties, you want multi-generational holidays. You want people that are coming in with the grandparents, the grandkids, the aunts and uncles. It's whoever is the right fit and then figuring it out. And it means that your copy is to them. So if you're talking about dogs and that is
Yeah.
the niche that you'd really like to go down, people who love dogs, they may not have one. They may decide to travel without their dog. They would still be called in as a perfect fit. But you could talk about the dogs. You could show images of dogs, on your social media. You could highlight the benefits of your property for the dog and what they're going to get out of the vacation as well. It's the same with a multi-generational family or a group of couples, whatever it is. It's that everything is geared towards it. And those who are looking for, especially large groups, people that are looking for a place to just come and have a party, they'll be
Yeah.
repelled with that actually your
Yeah.
marketing can repel these people and just get the ones that are the right fit. So talking about bringing the whole family together in your marketing, quality time, reconnecting, those kind of things, and showing people in your properties when you do a lifestyle like photo shoot, show the multi-generational family. Don't show a bunch of guys sitting around with beers. Think about who you want to have in your property.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. Always when we go away to a cottage in summer, we're looking in, what the lakeside access is like for our dog because she loves going swimming. So we're always choosing a location based on, what suits her as much as it suits us, because we know we always want to bring her along too.
Yeah.
That's kind of
And if
part of our
you
decision
have,
factor.
I can bet that if you had a choice between two properties, the one that is the perfect fit for your dog, whatever that may be, if it's lakefront or a fenced yard or whatever it is, you will pay more for that than the property that is just okay.
For sure, yeah, definitely. Because the alternative is that we don't bring her, which has a cost to it anyway, right? So we'd rather have her along for the ride. So it makes total sense. So maybe we can talk a bit more about community as well, and how kind of community can help hosts and property managers, grow their bookings and grow their business. Any ideas there?
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
like I said, when I was managing or I still manage my properties, but before I knew that there was a community out there of short-term rental hosts and property managers, I was working away on my own, trying to figure things out, recreating the wheel. It felt like at times, literally at the house. But, I think we all work for ourselves, by ourselves, and we're very siloed in that. And the pandemic was horrific. However, there were a couple of silver linings for me, and one of them was finding out that the online world existed, and that you could have a community of people come together online and help each other and network and talk about short-term rentals and guests and vacation rentals and all this fun stuff. And I find that even to this day, there's people who don't know that this exists and that are trying so hard to work on their business and finding it very lonely and,
Yeah.
Secluded. And it doesn't have to be. And I think community is a great way of bringing people together and helping them learn about what they can to grow their business or do things better, because we're always learning. We can always
Yes.
pick up nuggets that will help our business.
Yeah, fantastic. And I always, I always like to see that, in these communities, such as we have our own Facebook group with hosts that are using Hospitable, everyone's very open and happy to share their ideas and how they've done things kind of thing. Like it's, I know to some degree there's competitors between each other to some degree, right? And it's friendly competition, but at the same time, everyone's happy to kind of share their experience and how they've kind of got over obstacles and how they've achieved things for others to be able to learn and grow as well.
It's an amazing industry. We're, hospitable hosts, and hospitality. Like these are in our DNA, our blood, even if you don't feel like it, you've learned it or whatever. But we're in the hospitality industry. So it is a great group of people who are coming together and will share what they've learned freely with each other, which is wonderful. And I don't think this happens in every industry. I really don't.
No, for sure. And then you kind of you talked about learning over time, and I think that's kind of an important question for you as well. I think it's important, right, for hosts to not just kind of get their direct site up and running and they've got their marketing campaigns live and it's driving bookings and that's it, done and dusted, right? I think it's important to optimize over time and learn over time and make sure that you're kind of keeping up with the dynamic of the market, right?
Yeah, marketing is not a one and done thing. It's an ongoing activity that needs to go. You have to keep showing yourself, showing up in front of your ideal guests. Because when, they may not be ready to book yet and you want to stay top of mind. That's what marketing is. Marketing's not selling, it's showing up and keeping to be top of mind for your ideal guest so that when they are ready to book and they're ready to make that commitment and have that vacation wherever it may be, that they think, yes, I know exactly where we want to stay, and that it's your place that comes up for them.
Nice, yeah. Maybe we can get into a bit more about where listeners can kind of go and find out more from you, Jenn. We'd love to kind of talk about, I know there's a summit coming up, so we can definitely, drop some notes on that. Maybe you can, tell us more about your course and stuff as well.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about the summit first. So, the Direct Booking Success Summit is an annual global event. It is virtual, it's online. Anyone can come to it wherever you live. Yes, I live in the Pacific Northwest of Canada here. So, that's the time zone I'm kind of going to be favoring. However, a lot of the presentations from our amazing speakers are pre-recorded, so you can watch them in your own time. There will be live events too, and I've got some real special things happening this year, but I can't quite share them yet. So you'll have to go to the website and see what's live there. But it's a community, and I think that when that going back to that darn pandemic, coming out of that was when I realized that the in-person events were starting up again, and it was like, we need something online, because we can't always make it to all these conferences. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of money to go to them, and for whatever reason, it's not always the best use of your time and money. So having an online space where we could get together and learn from each other. Last year there were 22 presentations. The subjects that we rely on, or that we focus on, are a guest experience in hospitality, as well as marketing for direct bookings. And that's what we talk about. And there's networking and it's prizes. It's really a good, fun time. It's coming up October 8th to 10th. And it's the fourth year, and it's free to attend.
Amazing, which is definitely a rare thing. Like you said, there are so many events now, and they're getting quite expensive too, to be able to attend them. Certainly in-person ones. So to have that free event and to be offering that many speakers sharing their expert advice, that's pretty fantastic.
It's really great because it's virtual and people don't have to travel there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
A lot of people are able to put some time aside to attend or present, that they may not have been able to do it if it was an in-person event.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it's not the perfect time zone for you, you can stay up just a little bit later. It saves you having to fly to a conference or something.
Yeah.
It's easy enough, right?
That's it. The live stuff this year is going to be amazing. So you probably will want to stay up a little bit later or get up a little bit earlier to catch it. It's going to be really great. This year is going to be fantastic. The website, directbookingsuccesssummit.com. And you can find all the information there.
Great. And if you're watching or listening, we'll put it in the show notes as well, and a link to the website so you can easily click and end up in the right space. One final question that I always ask people, Jenn, and I feel like I'm going to know the answer, but we'll see, I guess. You might surprise me. What's one thing that you would have loved to have known, been told by someone before you kind of came into the short-term rental space?
I think it would have been really interesting to have known how the progression of me professionally in this space has been. If somebody had told me way back when we did our first apartment on Airbnb, If they would have said in, 12 years or so, you're 10, 12 years, you're going to be focusing on direct bookings and dealing with this industry every day, I think that would have been really interesting for me personally. I think as a host, I think it would have been really helpful if someone had come along and said, Airbnb is great for a hobby, but if you really want to build a business, then this is where you have to get your guest data and build your own direct booking brand. And I think that would have saved me a bit of heartache and a bit of worry and stress had somebody had actually said that to me without me having to figure out on my own.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I guess that's a nice way of looking at it, right? If you want to build your own business, going direct and doing the marketing, doing the legwork around creating your website, like there's a bit more effort to it for sure.
Mm.
But if you really want to kind of grow and kind of take ownership of your journey, then direct is the way to go, I think.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm not against Airbnb. I don't
Mm,
think that they're a villain by any means, or the other OTAs in this space. They've enabled this industry to completely blow up, which is amazing. It's how
yeah,
I got started. I just don't think that they're the ones that you want to be beholden to, and not have the control over your own business. So my advice to others is to focus on your business. You can advertise on Airbnb, Booking.com,
yeah.
Vrbo, wherever you like, but keep your focus on your own business instead of being a accommodation supplier to someone else's.
Yeah, 100%. You don't have to kind of burn that bridge and overnight suddenly like focus purely on direct. You can keep up your Airbnb listing. We'll
Mm,
allow it.
definitely,
Good
definitely.
stuff. Awesome. Jen, thank you so much. It's been great having you. Do you want to give us one last plug of the conference and sorry, the summit and where people can go to find out more information?
Yeah, it'd be great. I'd love to see you there. Directbookingsuccesssummit.com. It's 3 days of fun and learning and connecting. So you think that maybe because you're sitting at home in your pajamas, that you're not going to connect with others. You are. And it's probably the most fun you could have in your pajamas, too.
I love it, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Miles.
And thanks everyone for listening.